On January 22nd, 2017, a new phrase was spawned, alternative facts. Now, if you Google it, Wikipedia will tell you that alternative facts is a phrase that was used by President Donald Trump's counsel, Kellyanne Conway, in a news interview where she defended false statements about the attendance at his inauguration. But I didn't come here to talk to you about politics, but rather misinformation and untruths. I like to define alternative facts as falsehoods that rarely reflect reality, or as I like to put it, lies, lies, and more lies. Now, on the surface, you might say, what? Who cares? So what, right? They lied about attendance. But the real problem lies when we as a society are inundated with untruths, and sometimes society puts out these alternative facts, sometimes deliberately, other times without knowing. But nevertheless, they have very real ramifications and impacts on our lives. And even more, what you decide to accept as truth matters the most. So what is your truth? Your truth is what you want it to be. You must be the architects of your future. And again, what you accept sometimes can alter everything in your very existence. Let me explain what I mean. Media often puts out falsehoods like Trayvon Martin. 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was seen as little more than a troublemaker in a neighborhood where he didn't belong. And oftentimes, youth of color are mischaracterized in media. Like 12-year-old Tamir Rice, who's unfortunately not with us anymore because apparently he was acting like a thug. While 28-year-old Ryan Lochte was characterized by Today anchor Billy Bush as merely a kid going abroad. And sometimes magazines can whisper to us and tell us that we are not beautiful. Another example of how the voice or even the silence of people in power can infer these alternative facts that are ultimately harmful to us if we believe them. In 2014, New York Fashion Week reported that 82.7% of their models were white, while only 6% were black, and only 2% were Latino. Inundated with images that rarely look like you can sometimes whisper, you are not enough. Or even schools can support alternative facts. To the student who acts out in class because they just want someone to hear their pain, or maybe they didn't eat the night before. Alternative facts might suggest that that kid is defiant, disrespectful. According to the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, black students represent only 18% of the total U.S. population, and yet 43% of all students with more than one out-of-school suspension. Or is it our own music and culture that can whisper these alternative facts to us? In my work with youth, I come across a lot of young women who literally define their value by how they look or whether or not they're bad and bougie, a popular hip-hop song today. Or young men that I work with whose masculinity is rooted in their presence in the streets or in drug houses, also known as bandos. And are our problems really solved with being turned up or litty with drugs that further distance us from the reality that's waiting for us? I would rather be awake, aware, and present in my reality so that I could impact it and try to change it to be what I want it to be. We must be vigilant and focus on blocking out the negative messages that ultimately can be harmful to us. Even parents can sometimes infer alternative messages to their kids when the best of intentions are there. I grew up in Edenwald Projects, Bronx, New York, rated as one of the worst neighborhoods in the Bronx. And on any given day, Edenwald would take me on this journey through war zones, poverty, crackheads. But luckily, I had two parents that loved me so much and instilled the best of values in me. My father, a hard-working, prideful man who always tried to instill a good work ethic in me. He once told me, even though you're poor, you don't have to look poor when you leave the house. It's a lesson that stuck with me even till this day. And in pushing this work ethic, he would tell me, if you have to pack bags in a grocery store to survive, you do that. Now, I got his point. His point was to always work hard for what you want in life and to literally do anything that you need to do to survive. My mother, on the other hand, who was also a hardworking woman and wanted to impress upon me a good work ethic, couldn't even fathom the idea of me ever packing bags in a grocery store. She always pushed me to dream higher, to want more. And while he didn't mean it, sometimes the words that we utter can alter people's realities if we accept them. So when I was 12, I walked into a barbershop, and I asked him to set up shop and brush the hair off of clients as they got out of the chairs. I also swept floors, and on any average day, I might make about $70 at 12. When I was 15, I worked at major record labels, Warner, Elektra, and Atlantic Records. And by 16, I had this crazy idea that if I just walked into a random dentist's office and convinced them why it was imperative that they needed to hire me, that they just might do it. And guess what? They did. Till this day, thank you, Dr. Sadler. By 17, I met an orthopedic surgeon, and I had the courage simply to ask if I could shadow and watch an operation. I remember to this day when the blood splattered right on my smock. And to some, they might have freaked out and thought it was a crazy, traumatic moment. To me, it was a moment rooted in heaven because it was something that I wanted to do. By 17, by 18, I was working behind the scenes at MTV. Watch how I've dispelled the alternative facts. Watch how I've changed my future. Continue to watch me and track me and see how I will continue to do that, as you must do yourselves. The world is filled with alternative facts that ultimately will be, I promise you, harmful if you accept them as truths. So it's today that I ask you to stand firm, focus, vigilant, and dispel alternative facts and make your own future. No more alternative facts. Thank you.